A pleasant good afternoon to you, viewers. My name is Javon Wilson. We're coming to you live out of 284 Media, out of the beautiful British Virgin Islands. Today, a very important day. We are speaking with the Director of Culture, Dr. Catherine Smith, on the upcoming International Museums Day. Now, the BVI is extending an entire week to, of course, commemorate not only our history, but the culture and the heritage that is being housed in these museums. And trust me, it's an exciting and dynamic week, certainly something you want to be a part of. So stick with us. There's a lot more coming after this very quick commercial break.
The win.
What are the hell?
I'm freaking out.
Is about these people.
It's always a pleasure coming to you live and direct from the...
What's poppin'? What's really good?
Davis has won it for the Lakers.
Viewers, welcome back to 284 Media. Today, as promised, we are joined by the Director of Culture out of the Director of Culture, indeed, out of the Department of Culture, Dr. Catherine Smith. Of course, an esteemed guest I'm always happy to have here at 284 Media. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. It's really nice to be here.
All right. So International Museum Day is coming up on May 18th. I know last year things took a very different turn in light of COVID-19 and, the restraints of course, having to abide by protocols. We had a virtual commemoration, but thankfully, we are returning back to some semblance of normalcy and able to celebrate in normal fashion. Yeah. I know this year the theme is Recover and Imagine. Yes. So just tell us a little bit about not just the theme, but also a little bit about the history of museums in the BVI and why it's so important to our culture.
Okay, and we're so happy this year to be celebrating under the theme Recover and Reimagine, yes. And you would see in the activity that both themes are included. And just based on that theme, it becomes really important to familiarize ourselves and then start viewing our museums in a different way. A way that really sets them within the community, and they're seen as fun activities. You can visit on the weekend with your family. We actually have 8 museums in the territory. I'm not sure people are aware of that.
That was a complete surprise to me.
Yes, we have 8 museums in the territory. We do. We have on Anagada, of course, the Theodore Faulkner House Museum, and we'll be having a very special day dedicated to that. And on Tortola itself, we have 7 museums. Now, one includes a pop-up museum that just pops up from time to time, and that's kind of organized by the Long Look Heritage Society.
Wow! When you say pop-up, what do you mean? As if sometimes we may not be able to see it. How does that work?
That works when the Long Look Heritage Society organizes special activities around the heritage there at the Stickit. Okay. And then during those activities, they would just bring the artifacts in, have them available, yes. And then you can go through that museum. So that's a pop-up museum.
Excellent. Now, you mentioned 8 museums in the BVI. Like I mentioned, complete surprise to me, and I'm sure to many of our viewing audiences as well. Let's speak to some of the artifacts that are housed at these museums, because one of the things I often reflect on as well is how culture really marries tourism, which is such an important pillar to our economy. Yes. And I know lots of persons coming into the country are really excited to always learn about BVI culture. And of course, a museum has to be one of the most significant places you can visit for that, right?
Yes, definitely. It's funny you brought that up. I think I just got off the phone with the Director of Tourism, and he was talking about arranging a meeting because we want to start really early planning for Culture and Tourism Month, which is later on this year, of course. Yes. But yes, museums, it's just an excellent way to capture the interest of those visitors who really want to learn about you, your heritage, your culture that evolved as it did, and they're very popular ways and capture people's interest. And yes, we do have 7 in the museum. Now, you asked about the artifacts.
Yes.
The artifacts are totally related to the kind of mission statement of each museum. And I'm going to tell you that our museums are so exciting because there's such a diversity amongst them. Of course, we have Her Majesty's Old Prison Museum, and that speaks for itself. Right? So you would have the cells and the fascinating history and the interpretation that you find on the walls and the whole tour experience. We definitely have the Lower Estate Sugar Works Museum, which is going to begin. It's being developed as we speak.
You said that's Lower Estate.
Yeah, the Lower Estate Sugar Works Museum, right there across from Alters Catliff
Wow.
Primary School. Yes, and we have found that the information that's in that museum, that surrounds that museum, is much more far-reaching than we had ever imagined. So we're so excited about that museum. It's placed in the plantation era leading into freedom. So the artifacts and all of the interpretation technology and everything would be relating to that period.
Okay.
We have Ruben Vanterpool and Olive Vanterpool's Genesis Studios, and the Heritage Garden. This is an amazing, so this has aspects of being an art museum, artifact museum, and it's also a natural history because there's the wonderful Heritage Garden. I know we have such richness in the territory. So the story, that's the sort of post-emancipation period leading to modern times, the generations just before us. We always look at that with a sense of nostalgia, and he just narrates that topic in such a wonderful artistic way, he and Mrs. Vanterpool. So those are just a few. We also have the North Shore Shell Museum.
Yes.
The North Shore Shell Museum, this museum excites me. It's a completely natural history type of museum, and the collection there, it's just amazing. We have that as well. We have, of course, this Old Government House Museum.
Yes.
And this is to do with the presence of the governors in the territory, but that museum also has a beautiful garden. So it also has aspects of the natural history.
Nice.
And I think that those are just a few of them. Now, the North Shore Shell Museum and Genesis Studios, those are private museums.
Okay.
The other museums, and this would include the Virgin Islands Maritime Museum as well, which is attached to HLSCC. Of course, our maritime heritage.
Yes.
So that's what that museum deals with. So the artifacts for the museums, they're really connected to the mission statements that they have, and the collections plan, they adhere to those mission statements.
Excellent. So
Yes.
all very different, but still nevertheless very connected in some way as it relates to our history.
Yes.
Now, you spoke about a week of activities for International Museums Day.
Yes.
Let's speak about the workshops for museum professionals across the territory.
Okay, so even though the day begins on the 18th of May, we're leading up to that day from the Monday, and the 18th is a Tuesday,
Okay.
with morning workshops for the professionals. And by the way, I want to mention that if you're listening right now and you have a family heirloom or you have a family collection, you are very free to attend these workshops. You're welcome. And what you'd want to do is call into the Department of Culture or just follow us on Facebook, Virgin Islands Department of Culture, for details, and we would register you in. So you're welcome if you're just, you're the ordinary person and you have a wonderful collection. And these type of workshops would go into technical areas. We discovered that there's a need to talk about the care of the artifacts.
Yes.
For example, if you have artifacts made of glass, wood, copper, these have to be cared for in entirely different ways. I'm not sure we talked about this enough in the past. There are threats that are individual to the material that the
Right.
artifacts are made of. And so we want to talk about that. We want to talk about cataloging your artifacts. We need to talk about mission statements and being crisp and clear with those mission statements so that your collections planning can flow out of that. I think we're also looking at workshops regarding an entirely new initiative because we're recovering and we're reimagining.
Right.
And so we can start the conversation on what does it mean to decolonize your collection?
Wow.
What does that mean? And we have a few museums that particularly speak to that era in time, period in time. So that would be one of the workshops. So basically,
So persons can essentially start thinking about that
Yes.
conversation
Yes.
and what it means, and
What it
really
means.
painting a new narrative as it relates to BVI culture.
That's all right. Painting a new, sharing, power sharing when it comes to the interpretation of that particular history, exploring different narratives, being more inclusive.
Right.
Right? And to me, it's a very exciting way to look at new ways of interpreting the objects, fitting them into that colonial context in a way that's quite appropriate for today's times. So we'll be including that as a workshop. So as you can see, they're very sort of technical to the world of museums. We're really excited about this field in the BVI. We have so much to offer. I don't even know if people properly explore it.
Yes.
And we just want to get them out there and get... really professionalize the field.
Absolutely.
Yes.
One of the things I love about the lineup as well, activities for our young children. You spoke
Yes.
about, getting persons, building an appetite for persons to really come out and indulge in BVI culture through the museums. But
Yes.
I believe one of the ways in which we probably could improve a little bit more is by being a bit more inclusive as it relates to the curriculum and exposing our young children to what culture is and what that means as it
Yes.
relates to your identity. And there are some activities for our young people. Speak to us about the Museums Expo and any other school activities that you have planned.
Yes. When we talk about the Museums Expo, that is happening on the Friday.
Okay.
So the 18th of May is a Tuesday. And then by the Friday, we've been meeting for weeks now with our museums. A wonderful set of people, the curators in each museum.
Okay.
And they've agreed to display the items, tell the story in a one-day activity, which is for the Friday. And this activity is planned all day long for our 12th graders.
Okay.
There's a reason that we approach this in this way. We've been working with the Ministry of Education. I have discovered that our heritage is taught only in the 7th grade, I think, of the high school curriculum.
Oh.
And so this is a wonderful opportunity before the 12th graders graduate. Do you know, through a one-day immersive experience, you can learn
So
our
much.
museums and the breadth and the depth of them, because
Yes.
they cover all time periods and topics. You can actually learn about your history, and it can be done in a fun way. I think we're planning scavenger hunt activities, and in that we've included not just the displays, but virtual museums. We're now developing out virtual museums for all of our museums.
Okay.
So on the Friday, yes, we'll be bringing the 12th graders through to activities that have to do with virtual museums and displays, and the curators will be there. We have a gaming. It has a game type of atmosphere.
Okay.
So we've got it
You're
plotted
really
out.
digging into the young people's world and, of course,
Yes.
Exposing them. I love that.
Yes.
And what other activities do we have on the lineup?
Okay, so to continue that theme, actually, that's Friday for the 12th graders.
Okay.
And now for the Thursday, we have, we've gone into the 6th graders, and with that we're including the private schools, and we started slotting them into sort of educational sessions that will carry on that entire day, but this is being done in the virtual realm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is for the 6th graders.
This is for 6th graders,
Excellent.
and they've already started scheduling their time slots. We're going to meet with the teachers in the classes and virtually, and we're just going to walk them through the same history, but remember, you'll gear this differently for 6th graders than you will for 12th graders.
Right. Of course.
So with that, we now have like exciting images and the whole walkthrough in the museums that we're developing now in a virtual way. So we're excited about that as well, and that's going to be happening on the Thursday.
All right. I know
Yeah.
initially you touched on the fact that there is a day trip to Anagada
Yes.
for that museum, the Theodore Faulkner House
Yes.
Museum.
Yes.
And of course, other aspects of Anagada's heritage. Touch on that, and I know we're going to get to the creme de la creme of all of the activities, in my opinion, if I'm allowed to say, which is the museum hop
Yes.
on the final day.
Yes. Okay, so on the Wednesday, so Museum Day is actually on Tuesday the 18th, and on the 19th, Wednesday, we are planning that day trip to Anagada. We had to do this because we're so excited that there is a museum on the Sister Islands, and we need to explore that to the fullest extent. So we're encouraging the public to come on over, get on the ferry and come on over. Again, you can call us at 468-4374, that's Department of Culture, or follow us on our Facebook page, Virgin Islands Department of Culture. The details
Okay.
are there. And just come on over, and we're also involving the school in Anagada in this, right?
Okay.
So this, though, will not just include the museum, Theodore Faulkner House. I mean, that will be central to this day. But Anagada is a place that, I mean, has so much heritage to it.
heritage,
So much.
yes.
If you look at the architecture, the historical architecture, in my opinion, it should really be a historical district. It's so beautiful.
Yes.
The homes, and then the shipwreck history is one that is astounding. It's astounding. Let's not talk about the conch middens, the conch mounds.
Yes.
So we recently learned from the curator over there that there's a lookout point. You know, we don't have to necessarily sail over there, although that would have been fun and would still be fun. There is a lookout point where you can view them. So we're pretty excited about that day in Anagada. So that's on the Wednesday. And of course, the Theodore Faulkner story is something, you know, that has to be told. You know, and we have to really etch this into our history, the Great March, his activities in that, and who was he as a person, you know, and then the creme de la creme, the Saturday event. Okay, so here we have, and remember everybody, in a sense, these activities are also fundraisers. We know the museums haven't had any tourists visiting them. So it's good to come out and support the Anagada trip, and it's good to come out and support the Saturday event. And so at that event, that's basically a museum's hop. So you will just register in, and we'll be taking a tour around the entire island to all 7 museums. So it's kind of like we'll hop from museum to museum.
Okay.
And along the way, you'll be hearing, you know, fascinating facts about the history of the island, you know, as you drive through. So you'll be hearing, you essentially be getting 2 things in one. A kind of like a tour, heritage tour around the island itself and different parts of the island. And then you get out at the museums, and the museums are getting ready for everybody. And then we tour through that museum, and then, you know, we get back in the bus, and then we continue with the tour. So I'm so excited about that, and details will be coming, as I have already explained, you know, how to reach out if you're interested in that.
Can you repeat that number once again, please?
I think so. If you call government and call the Department of Culture, that's 468-4374.
Okay.
But you can also follow us on Facebook, Virgin Islands Department of Culture, and you'll see all details there as well, and how to reach out.
Excellent.
Yes.
Now, I know when we speak about museum culture, all of that, and you know, we tie that because it's intrinsically tied into tourism. But when we look at that collaboration, we often market it as something that we need to do for our tourists, or need to strengthen or preserve for our tourists.
Yes.
But I think what's equally important is us being able to identify with our history as not just Virgin Islanders, but persons who are blessed to call the BVI home, understanding the history, the trajectory that the BVI has traveled to arrive at this place, and you know what actions led to that. So I want you to really speak to our audience as we begin to close out about the importance of familiarizing yourself with culture, and also inviting them to come out and be a part of all the activities that were mentioned for International Museum Day.
Yes, I couldn't have even said it better. The importance of really understanding the historical landscape in which you live. We all live here, you're living here, but do you know the history of the place? Do you have a historical sense of place? Do you, when you're driving through or walking through a certain era, are you able to just realize that, okay, wow, there was a plantation here, and it stretched from here to here, and now the landscape looks totally different, but I have a historical sense of the phases of development this place has gone through. I really would appeal to everybody who's resident, and Virgin Islands, of course, to understand their particular heritage, to come out to these activities, especially I think the Saturday event, the museum's hop would be good for that.
I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, and I really enjoy how you stated it, that it's intrinsically important to support these institutions, come out and kind of introduce yourself to the history of the place in which you live, in which we are all resident. And this is an excellent opportunity to do that.
All right.
Yes.
Well, the date is May 18th, but of course, throughout that entire week, May 18th to the 22nd, the theme, Recover and Reimagine. Lots of activities to indulge in.
Yeah.
Great activities. I see they're very inclusive as well for the children,
Yes.
so that we can really start to tap into their minds about the importance of culture. So viewers, first of all, Dr. Catherine Smith, I want to thank you so much for making time to always coming in and speaking to us about culture. I think when we think culture bearer, historian, we think Dr. Catherine Smith. And I think you're doing a great job at the Department of
you.
Culture. And of course, want to applaud this effort in specific. And we look forward to the activities.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. Viewers, again, the date is May 18th through 22nd, International Museums Day. The BVI is celebrating 1 week of activities. So much for you and your children, your family and friends to come out and indulge in as it relates to paying homage to not only our history, but reimagining what the future will look like. So thank you so much for joining us. And you can tune in again at 6 p.m. from my colleague Ron and I as we bring you our daily dose of local, regional, as well as international content this evening. Stick with us for more this afternoon. Until then, goodbye.